speech was over an hour long, so I might talk fast through some of it because some of it's still pretty raw and triggering. And I swear to God that none of us got together before to compare notes, but we're all talking about the same thing here. So like Andrea said, my name is Terra, and I'm among many things a mother, a farmer, and an entrepreneur. And as you know, or at least I thought, that the theme for the weekend was empowerment. So when I was first asked to speak, I started thinking about how I can best use our time together to help empower you to create your best life. How can you live an empowered life? When I thought about it, it really comes down to our health. It's nearly impossible to go after your dreams when you're sick and tired, or feeling stressed out, or not worthy, or broken. Health is such a big subject, and we do only have 20 minutes together, so I figured the best way to cover it is to share with you my story and the 5 things that helped me. So, like Andrea had said, right now my life is wonderful. This summer I celebrated my 44th birthday and 5 years in my farmhouse on the hill. I moved a 1916 Eaton's 4-square farmhouse from Leroy to 10-acre parcel of land that I purchased just south of Prince Albert. It's a charming house with a wraparound porch, fir hardwood floors throughout, and a finished attic. And most of all, it's mine. I did it all. And it's a source of a lot of pride for me. I run a couple businesses from home because this past June, I was able to quit my life-sucking corporate insurance job. And the weekly sales meetings and targets and disgruntled customers that would come in. And instead, I ran a very successful CSA weekly vegetable box program where I fed 120 people for 14 weeks. I have been coaching women one-on-one to get healthy, as well as running workshops. And most of all, I love what I do. It's so meaningful to me, and I feel like I'm making a difference in the world. I also have an amazing fiance. He supports all my crazy ideas, and he thinks I'm hot. He's everything that I wanted. He's the perfect combination of rugged masculinity, something I call the grr factor, but he's also a really big soft heart and a really good listener. On my little farm, I have chickens, sheep, cats, dogs, and very recently got a donkey. So I think that actually puts me into funny farm status now. But most of all, I'm happy. I feel at peace, except for right now. I'm no longer running on the hamster wheel, living under constant stress and deadline. I know that I'm enough. I know what I'm capable of. I trust myself, and I love myself. I love my body, and I'm not afraid to go after my dreams. But it wasn't always like this. 9 years ago, my life looked completely different. I left my 18-year marriage and became a single mom of 2 kids. I didn't have a job. In fact, I had quit university to be a stay-at-home mom, and I hadn't worked in over 12 years. My family all live out on the West Coast, that's where I'm from, and I lost a lot of friends when I left the marriage. I left our lake house and the community we've been living in for 15 years, and I moved into the city, into low-income housing. It was the opposite of everything that I had known. And this was the first time in my life that I actually was on my own, living on my own. I was terrified. I didn't know how I was going to support myself and the kids. I didn't know how I was going to be able to provide for them all the things that they needed to keep their life as normal as possible. And I started having panic attacks. I thought I was dealing with my stuff by leaving the marriage. I thought the marriage was the problem. I thought I was moving on. But over the years, things went from bad to worse. We became homeless. I had a nasty court battle, not against my ex, but against a corporation. The kids and I, we moved 5 times in 4 years, and I accumulated over $60,000 in debt, not including my mortgage. And I had several bad relationships. In fact, part of my moving on was a relationship with a man who lived in another town, and who, after 2.5 years together, I found out he was using cocaine and sleeping with other women. I felt like I was drowning. I stopped trusting myself because every choice I was making seemed to make my life worse. I thought about going back to my ex, like maybe it wasn't that bad. I thought about walking away from my farmhouse project because what the heck was I thinking starting a project like that? I thought I should just cut my losses, get an apartment in the city again, and life would be easier. So for some context, I hired some contractors to build a basement for this house to go on, and they built the basement the wrong size. And when that house backed up, we found out then, so there wasn't much I could do. And so there it sat for over 9 months on blocks 6 inches away from the basement. There was no funds available to me from the mortgage perspective until that house landed on the basement. And the contractors had walked off with $25,000, and I had nowhere to live. This literally happened 1 week before I found out about my boyfriend's lies. So talk about stress. I couldn't stay where I was living at the time, and I couldn't afford to pay rent on another place on top of paying for that mortgage. So thankfully, a friend asked me to move in with her. She was going through divorce as well, and it seemed like a really good setup. I mean, living with another woman, half the house were twice the shoes. But it wasn't ideal. My 10-year-old son shared my bed in our spare room in the basement, and my 15-year-old daughter didn't even have a room. She slept on the high-bed couch in the middle of the rec room. I felt really low about myself. This sort of thing would have been okay maybe if we were 20 and we didn't have kids, but I was a grown woman. Like, come on, I'm supposed to provide security and stability, and our lives were anything but. Finally, after 14 months of delays, we got into our farmhouse. We moved in before it was finished. Money was so tight, and I didn't know who I could trust to ask for help. I went over a year with no kitchen. We didn't have central heat. Plumbing was left exposed. Floors were in dire need of sanding, like hardwood floors that were 100 years old that hadn't been sanded in at least 60. We were having slivers in our feet every day. But I kept going, and I kept trying to be positive, do the positive things, you know. I thought I was dealing with the stress, but if you can imagine, things got even worse. In the fall of 2016, one of my best friends died very unexpectedly. I was sexually assaulted by my massage therapist, and then my thyroid crashed. So just for some reference, when you have your thyroid tested, there's a normal range. It's 0.4 to 4. My reading came in at 35. I shouldn't have been able to get out of bed. I felt broken. I was grieving, and I had so much going on in my head, and I had no energy to deal with it. But I had to keep going. I had these kids to take care of. And Val's death taught me that life is so short, and it can be taken from us in a heartbeat. I knew things needed to change, and I decided I needed to get healthy, but this time I was going to do it differently. I decided I needed to do it with intention and find out what it really means to be healthy. I used to think that my weight was a true indicator of my health. I associated being skinny with being healthy, but there's so much more to your health than your weight. I know now, I can go for a walk and feel 100 times better about myself, have more energy, feel good in my skin, and my weight hasn't changed. True health isn't going on a diet, losing some weight, and then your life is magically better. By all outside accounts, I was in picture perfect health up until the point my thyroid crashed. But really I wasn't. I was just ignoring all the early signs. Last winter, I had several people approach me. I'm going on vacation next month, I want to lose weight. Everybody's looking for the quick fix. So I gave some of them plans, and not a single one of them followed it for more than 5 days. They'd start on Monday, and then by Friday afternoon, they were off. So getting healthy is a process, and it's not always linear. There are many programs out there, they're a month long, and we see them all over social media. There's that social media again. And they're dramatic. They've lost 15, 20 pounds, but guess what happens next month? The weight comes back because they haven't, dealt with their stuff. All they've done is cut calories or cut out a food group. Nothing else has changed. They haven't examined on what they did to get them to where they are. They haven't changed their old patterns. They don't have self-respect or self-love. So how did I get from where I was to where I am now? To get healthy first, I needed to recognize that I'm a whole being, and I had to approach my health in a holistic manner. I had to look at my habits and my choices. Health is so much more than what you eat. The foods you eat are actually secondary to your health. Our primary foods are everything else that nourish us. I had to examine my relationships, spirituality, career, what I wanted for my life, and most of all, my beliefs and my mindset. And change takes a lot of energy. So first I needed to get my energy levels up. For years I was getting by on 5 hours of sleep because I was busy. I had kids and their activities, I had a full-time job, I'm trying to finish this house. I wasn't going to bed until about 12 o'clock at night, and then I had to be up at 5 a.m. to fit in that workout because it was a badge of honor to skip sleep for a workout. When we aren't getting enough sleep, it affects everything else in your life, and it can kill you. There was a study done in the 80s on rats that showed that sleep is actually more crucial to your health than food or water. In fact, all other things being equal, death was 60% greater in the sleep-deprived rats. So I gave myself permission to sleep 7, 8, 9 hours a night and rest when I needed it. Next, I had to change my perception of food. I used to see it as good or bad. Food was both a reward and a punishment. And as a health coach, I often get asked my opinion about what's the best diet. Well, the short answer is, it depends. There are so many factors that affect which foods and portions and ratios are right for you. We are all bio-individually different. Everything from your lifestyle to your blood type, your ancestry, and whether or not you have a disease, all will play into what's best for you. No one diet is best for everyone. What works the best is the 80-20 rule, because weight loss is 80% what you eat, 20% exercise. I aim to eat clean 80% of the time, but 20% is for life, like traveling. Like those nights where you're stuck in town late and you need to grab takeout. Or celebration, like we just had Thanksgiving. Guys, no one got thin eating one salad, and nobody got overweight eating one turkey dinner. So enjoy. And although I don't like counting calories, calories still count. So learn what's appropriate for your body. And think about this. We are the only species in the world that goes on a diet. Everything else has a diet. Next, I had to change the way I exercise. I had to stop using exercise as a form of punishment. For years, I worked out like a boss. I had a gym in my basement, and I ran marathons, lifted weights, I did fitness competitions. I even had six-pack abs. But for years, I was up at 5 a.m. and I believed no pain, no gain. I believed I had to work up a good sweat for it to be effective. And you know what? It worked for a while. It kept me fit. But when my thyroid crashed, it stopped working. And I just stubbornly believed I just need to keep working out, just try a little harder. But instead, I put on 25 pounds overnight, and it would take me a week to recover from a workout. Today, my workouts consist of going for walks, yoga, and dancing. And if you're not currently doing any exercise, just start moving your body. 20 to 30 minutes every single day. I don't care if it's a walk or a sport, just find something you enjoy. Don't put too much emphasis on it. It is only 20% of the equation, but you cannot out-exercise a lousy diet. I had to learn how to listen to my body. If something hurts or it bores me, I move on. I do something else. The key is just to enjoy moving your body. Those things only took me so far, however. I had to learn effective stress management. I had to learn how to complete the stress response cycle within myself. Our stress response has a cycle. And, you know, in the old days when we had our ancestors and the saber-toothed tigers, that was really effective. But in today's modern world, our stress is our life. It's all around us every day, and it feels unavoidable. Most of our stress, though, is internal. It comes from what we think and what we say to ourselves. It's how we feel about ourselves and the perception of the world around us. Unfortunately, our bodies it doesn't know the difference between the perceived stress and the actual stress. The physiological response to a lion chasing you is the same as the jerk that cut you off in traffic. We are socialized to suppress our emotions. I learned how to bottle them up. I sucked it up and I kept going, and I wasn't releasing the stress and it accumulated. So rather than completing the cycle, I was choosing unhealthy ways of dealing with it, such as avoidance, exercising excessively, and dieting. I've learned that 90% of disease starts with stress, whether it be physical from inflammation or mental or emotional. How I complete the cycle now is I've learned how to express myself. I've learned that it doesn't mean I'm weak if I share how I feel. I've learned how to relax, as well as how to use exercise in a healthy manner. I also started becoming more mindful with my self-care. And there's the old analogy, think of self-care as your oxygen mask. Your life is the airplane, and I had to learn how to put on my own mask. This includes setting boundaries and learning how to say no. I had to be choosy about who I was spending my time with and the energy on. I had to learn how to ask for help. Self-care for me, and I'm gonna think of Amber every time I think of this. It does include a bath and a self-pedicure. But I just stopped looking at those things as frivolous, because I never took time for them, right? It was too frivolous. Now I look at it as my life support. And most importantly, I work daily on my mindset. I recognized that much of my stress was coming from my internal dialogue. And I was at the point where I was sick of hearing myself complain about things. If I wanted lasting changes, I needed to change my thinking. I started journaling and reflecting on my life. I started questioning everything that I believed and that I thought to be true. For years, I've carried a lot of body shame. I thought I was fat when I was 110 pounds. Like, seriously, what's wrong with that? I used to criticize and judge myself daily. I thought I wasn't good enough if I wasn't perfect. This led to OCD behaviors such as obsessively cleaning my house for 4 hours a day. I built walls around myself that blocked intimacy and stopped me from having the relationships that I wanted. I felt guilt if I had deserved or skipped a workout. I thought I didn't deserve nice things or to enjoy myself. And the thing is, your subconscious is always listening. It's taking those clues from your thoughts on how to perceive the outside world as a stress. And what happens is it creates a chemical reaction in your body and causes more stress, and that will affect your health. This honestly has been the toughest part of my journey. Peeling back those layers that I had accumulated over the decades, I put off going into those dark places because it hurt. I was resistant to letting my walls down because I believed I needed them to protect me from being hurt again. I believed that I would only be worthy of love and of having my dreams come true if I was perfect. If only I was a better cook. If only I kept a clean house. If only I was fitter, or better in bed, or smarter, or controlled everything. If only I was always happy and never needy. I told myself that if I stopped beating myself up, I would never improve. And if I didn't improve, I would be perfect. But what I've learned is the opposite is true. I questioned my beliefs. I took time to heal my spirit and my heart. I learned to trust my intuition. I learned that I couldn't be healthy as long as I was spending all my days at a job that drained me. I started using affirmations and talking to myself the way I would my daughter. At first, I felt like I was lying to myself. But I was already lying to myself when I told myself I wasn't enough. So how did I get healthy? I did everything the opposite of what I was doing before. I gave up exercising like a fitness model, and now I have lots of energy. I stopped dieting, I lost 20 pounds. I learned to trust and let my walls down, and I found love and real intimacy. I stopped telling myself I can't, and I started asking myself, what if? I stopped waiting for life to happen or to get better, and I started taking steps daily towards my dreams. I learned that I can't always decide what happens to me, but I get to decide how I will respond. I'm far from perfect, and I still have my moments where I have to remind myself to remain vulnerable, but I keep working on it daily. I've learned that good things take time, and sometimes you have to fight for those good things. I've learned to believe in myself. I've learned how to forgive not only others, but also myself. I now recognize that having those hard conversations is what brings the intimacy. And it takes hard work to build a farm and a business. And I could have given up at any point along the road, but I wouldn't be here today. And I don't even want to think about where I might be if I had given up. So my hope is that you hear my story and it empowers you to get healthy. That you see that you always have a choice. You can go and lose weight, do all the right things, but until you work on the emotional and mental, nothing else is really going to change. It won't happen overnight. If I told you it would take you 12 months, would you still do it? What about 5 years? How many years have you already lost? Have you been yo-yo dieting and still not happy? We often get hung up on that end goal, and we ignore the process and the real work. We fail to recognize that change takes energy, and you cannot do that without real self-care. You don't need to be like me and wait for your life to fall apart or have to experience some sort of health crisis. You can start today, and you can take steps every day towards being healthy so you can create your best life. Because if I can do it,